And we're back at SWAC Football Media Day, the 2023 edition, and we are now joined by a very special guest. That's Commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Dr. Charles McClelland. Dr. McClelland, always good chatting with you. Let's just jump into it. Do you have the official number of how many individuals like me were here today?
I do not have the official number, Mo, but we had over 225 at the last count, which makes this officially our largest media day to date.
Okay, awesome, Coach. Doctor. Even though I know you could probably have been a coach for a good time. But look, let's kind of look at it like this. Unofficial start to the 2023-2024 season. Can you kind of just talk about some of the big things that are coming forth with the Southwestern Athletic Conference that the front office was able to take care of?
Well, just the continued growth and overall exposure of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. One thing that we're pretty pleased with, that over 80% of our football games are going to be broadcasted either on the ESPN platform or the HBCU Go platform, and it gives us that national exposure that we're really, really excited about. We were able to announce today an extended partnership with PepsiCo, which brings in their other brands, the Gatorade and the Salty Snacks brand, which is significant for the conference, and we just want to make sure that we continue to grow. We had an outstanding last year, distributed the largest amount back to our member institutions, and we just want to continue to grow and to capitalize on the advancement and the momentum that our schools, coaches, and student athletes has given us to broadcast on.
You mentioned the distributions. A little birdie who works within the realms kind of gave me an idea what those numbers were. So are you saying from last year they were increased?
Yeah, they were increased significantly from last year, yes sir.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's kind of talk about the partnership with HBCU Go now. Of course, we saw Mr. Edmonds and then also Mr. Simons, and also Charlie Neal, kind of running things last year. How successful really was it?
Extremely successful. We were the only FCS conference that had a nationally televised game in syndication of any FCS conference and some FBS conferences. So it made us the envy. I don't want to take credit for it, but I noticed that the ACC went to CW.
I saw that.
That's where a lot of our games were. So perhaps they saw it and knew that it was a good deal for us, but it puts us in a position that we've never been in before, and that is prime time on Saturdays. And as you can see, ESPN picked up a couple of more of those games as well. So it allowed us to kind of expand our brand, expand our reach, and put us in the center of college football.
So with that being said, I know the media rights deal will be up at some point in time with the great stuff that happened with HBCU Go. When it comes, I guess, to the negotiation table, does that kind of put the pressure on some other folks, including ESPN?
Well, it absolutely puts pressure on everyone. And the biggest piece of that, I think, for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, it really gave us a true value of what our worth is. So we now know what the market bears. We know what those numbers look like. We know what our viewership numbers look like. So in my opinion, it puts us in a pretty strong position as we move forward talking media right negotiations.
Okay, Dr. McClelland, here's another thing. I know I have to ask you this every year since you kind of talk about that. Can you kind of give us an update as far as what the future looks with that potential move to the FBS idea that you presented to the athletic directors, as far as where are we on the train of it?
Well, what we talked about was a long-term plan. Obviously, there's been a lot of movement within the NCAA structure through the Transformation Committee, through the Governance Committee, and right now there is no path for any conference to move to FBS. What we wanted to do was put a plan together to give us the opportunity to be able to move if there are any opportunities to move. I can honestly say that we have been able to mark off a lot of the steps that we needed to mark. A lot of it had to do with media exposure, revenue, our schools, their APR rates, their graduation rates, all of those things to strengthen and enhance the conference. So the original plan was not an imminent move, but to put us in position to be proactive and not reactive. That has not changed. And we are still tracking along the way that we thought and we should be tracking. In case there are those opportunities, we'll be in prime position to dictate our future and not allow anybody to be dictating our future.
All right, let's switch over to basketball now. Last year you had had the opportunity to be the co-chair of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Now the pressure's on, Dr. McClelland.
Absolutely.
You're going to be the chair
Absolutely.
this upcoming year. What did you learn from your experience as you go into being the main guy this year?
I learned a tremendous amount, Mo. It's actually overwhelming. The one thing that I can say, to be in the room with all of the broadcast partners, to hear the things that you hear in those rooms, has been significant in my growth and in my maturity as a commissioner. As you know, the Final Four, the entire tournament, is over $1 billion entity.
Correct.
And to be chair and primarily responsible of that process, and again, when I say primarily responsible, I'm more the face. There's a lot of people in the background,
yes,
but
sir.
to know that I am the face that's going to be representing NCAA, all 360 plus Division I institutions, has been a tremendous honor. But you know, there's a little anxiousness to that, because I want to represent the Southwestern Athletic Conference well. I want to represent my family well. But the learning curve has been swift, but the knowledge that I have been able to obtain has been vast. And I can tell you, not only will it make me a better commissioner, it has definitely made me a better person.
Now, with that position, clearly you get a chance to interact with a lot of important individuals across the board. I'm curious, one of the other commissioners that's here in the city of Birmingham, Greg Sankey, you know, he's on a similar committee with college football. Do you guys have conversations kind of comparing, like, okay, what do we need to do here to improve this or that? Or
Well, no conversations with Commissioner Sankey based upon football versus basketball, because those tracks are two different tracks. Keep in mind, the football playoffs is not operated by the NCAA. It's operated by its own separate entity. But I can tell you, I have conversations with Commissioner Sankey. I lean on him for advisement, because quite frankly, a lot of what we're going through in the SWAC from a growth perspective, he's already been a part of it.
Right.
So it's one of those situations where I can learn from one of the best and hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls that I normally would encounter if I didn't have that level of advisement. But Commissioner Sankey is a power force in intercollegiate athletics. He is a smart person with vast amounts of experience, and I'm grateful that he takes time out to mentor me and allow me to have several conversations to where I can help advance not only Southwestern Athletic Conference, but best believe if there's an issue within the NCAA basketball that the SEC wants to get their point across, he knows how to pick up the phone and call.
I understand. Just on a final note, Dr. McClelland, is there any box that you would like to see checked off by the Southwestern Athletic Conference, whether it's teams or administration or just the conference in general for the upcoming seasons?
There are several boxes, probably more than I can talk about, Mo. We are never going to rest on where we are. We always have to elevate. We always have to get better. I think the question that I've been asked more today, second to the Dion question, is about our inability to win the Celebration Bowl. So clearly those are some things that we have to focus on. We want to be dominant in all aspects, and that includes the bowl games that we participate in. And we've had several conversations with our member institutions and coaches, but I've always commented that our grind to get to the Celebration Bowl is a significant grind, week in, week out. It starts in week one. Just think about FAMU Jackson, what that games mean.
Right.
Think about what Prairie View Texas Southern means this year. Texas Southern was a half a yard away from going to the championship games. These games are significant, and they start in week one.
Correct.
And they go through week 12 of the football season. So you can't overlook week 1 or week 3 or week 5, because if you do, you're not going to get to our championship game. And our championship game is significant to our fan base. That is the crown jewel of our fan base. Then you have to go to the Celebration Bowl. So there is no peeking forward to the MEAC. There is no, well, let's start to prepare for these two teams, because if you lose focus, you're not even going to get opportunity to play. So it's going to take some additional effort. We're talking about that effort, but I think that's probably one of the major boxes that we want to check off, and that is to be successful in the Celebration Bowl.
All right, Dr. McClelland, always a pleasure, my
Thank you.
friend. Thank you so much. Once again, we're visiting with Dr. Charles McClelland, Commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference here at 2023 SWAC Football Media Days. And we'll have more on HBCUsports.com.